Well, now to the Woodside Town Hall. It was host to a heated meeting last night as more than 500 people gathered to hear federal immigration officials explain how the new detention facility at Inverbrackie will work. The announcement was made without consultation or warning earlier this week. It's caused a great deal of anger and division. In a moment, Simon Royal will speak to the State Director of Immigration, Christopher Callanan, but first, here's a look at last night's meeting.
We know that this is not the way to go with immigrants. We know that to land them in the country is not the way. Look at the London bus.
You're putting, instead of next to $1 million properties, you're putting an asylum seekers that's dropping the value of the property.
I was one of the people that first made the Circle of Friends for refugees in Surrey. With our relationships with refugees. Are we going to have the opportunity to go and visit people? Are we going to know who they are?
What sort of fence is going to be around this thing? And is this thing going to be another backstop? We do not want a backstop.
How can you justify putting 400 people into a high-risk bushfire area?
How dare you think you can leave it weeks before you let us be informed about what the hell was going on here?
Right. And the government seems to be more concerned about helping other countries and these people, like letting them in to help them out with education, with protecting them, yet what's happening for us? What's happening for me and people like me as students? What's being done to ensure that our future is going to be okay? Asylum seekers are. What about us?
Chris Callanan, welcome to State Line.
Thank you very much.
How will people be detained at this facility or centre?
The Inverbrackie residential accommodation is regarded as an alternative place of detention. It's not a detention centre. The government's policy is that children are not detained in detention centres.
But they are detained nevertheless.
That's right.
How will they be detained? Is it behind barbed wire? Is it behind razor wire? How does it work?
There'll be low-level security in terms of fencing. I mentioned at the community meeting last night, in all likelihood, the fencing along the Woodside Nan Road will be sort of low-level poolside fencing or colorbond, that sort of thing. There will be higher fencing, tennis court, cyclonic fencing at the back against the military barracks, just to stop people, going outside.
Will people be free to come and go?
No, they won't. They are still legally detained, although it's it's in a very low security environment. So they can't simply come and go, leave the accommodation.
Well, what makes it different then to a detention centre?
Well, in a full detention centre, people are behind sort of high security fencing, and their movements are more controlled.
But people are going to go out into the community, I presume. Kids will go to school.
That's right.
Parents will be able to go to the library.
Children will be going to school, but that'll be under escort. Clearly they'll be bused to wherever they need to go to school. As for adults, there will be occasional excursions, but once again that's under escort, and after a risk assessment in terms of their behaviour. And
if the children are going to school and they're mixing with the community, it's inevitable that they'll make friends. What happens if they want to have a sleepover or stay at their new best friend's place for dinner?
I don't think sleepovers would be countenanced.
Dinner?
Possibly, but once again, it'd probably be under some arrangement, some controls.
They'd have a guard there, or
not necessarily. With children, our service provider can provide low-level escort.
How would you describe the reaction last night?
Well, there was a certain amount of heat in the meeting, as has been relayed by the media. People had very strong views. I think the announcement was unexpected. So
and did that add to it?
I think so.
So the government and the department essentially has made a rod for its own back. You've made it more difficult for these people to be accepted in this community by the way you've announced it.
The point I made last night was...
No, is that fair to say?
Well, that was a decision of the government, and possibly if there'd been a longer period of consultation, that might have been better. But I think the minister commented on that earlier in the week.
So, how would you characterise the reactions? Were they racist or were they reasonable, or a bit of both?
I don't think there was. I think people had genuine concerns, basically concerns about security, impact on local services such as education and health, and also I guess the general sort of countryside feel of the of Woodside area and the hills, that might be destroyed in some way. I think there's a perception that this detention facility will be in some way prison-like. Questions were asked about whether there'd be high fences and razor wire. Well, there won't be.
Well, you said there will be, at least on the barracks side.
No, just wire mesh.
When did the department first identify Inverbrachy?
Well, when the government made its decision on Monday.
So Monday was the first time you had heard of it?
Yeah, more or less, yes.
Well, is it more or less?
Yeah, well, I mean...
Look, when was there was obviously a process that went through. I mean, Inverbrachy wasn't identified on Monday. So the question I'm asking you is this: when was Inverbrachy identified?
Look, I can't... this is done at a Canberra level. We became aware of it only a day or two before, but of course the cabinet had to make its decision on Monday. So, given the nature of cabinet deliberations, that's when the formal announcement was made.
Thank you very much for your time.